guys, today I am doing a video that I've been waiting to do for about a month now. So I guess some of you have noticed that I haven't been vlogging as much lately, and I have a complete, really great reason for this. So yesterday was, for me, Monday, May 16th. And yesterday I officially got a job at a new school. So I'm going to back up a little bit and this is going to be a really chatty video, by the way. So I'm going to back up a little bit and tell you guys pretty much my whole reasons for moving, the process that I kind of went through in order to get my job, and just some of the things that happened along the way. And then maybe if you guys go back and watch some of the other videos, you'll start to kind of see those things happen here and there, and you'll pick up on it and say, oh yeah, that's like a clue right there. So at the beginning of this year, my husband and I sat down and we really decided on whether or not we wanted to continue living in Alabama. I'm from Texas originally. My husband is he lived in Pennsylvania for the majority of his life. So we both do not have this is not our home base. This is not where our entire family is. Now, I do have my mom and my dad and my brother and sister live here, but my brother and sister are getting older. They're moving. My parents travel a lot, so they're not here so often. So we made the choice to move. And it took us a while to figure out where exactly we wanted to go and live. And we ended up deciding on just going back to Pennsylvania from where my husband's from. And we did this for, I guess, one really, really big reason. So I have two boys. I have a 9-year-old and then I have a 2-year-old. And we are not in the living conditions where they can go outside and they have enough room to play and just be boys and do what boys do. So they are going to have so many other opportunities there, just being close to kind of a farm. I mean, they're going to be on a farm where they can ride four-wheelers and just be boys. So we made that decision without having jobs, without having anything. And he said, you know what, we're just going to do it. We're going to start the processes of just looking for everything. I had to go through and figure out how to get my license for Pennsylvania. So I started that at the beginning of the year. And I told my administration at the very beginning of the year, hey, listen, this is what's happening. This is probably what's going to go about. And I don't think they believed me in the very beginning because they kind of brushed it off and didn't think anything of it. But I was one that I wanted to be very upfront with them, especially if I was going to be applying for jobs and they were going to get phone calls. So I didn't want to seem like I was doing anything behind their back. So the first thing I had to go through is get my license. And I pretty much just went to the Pennsylvania Education Department and just started researching and figuring out what did I require in order to get my license transferred. So one thing is you had to fill out the application. For me, I had to take another test. For here in Alabama, we have to take something called the Praxis, which is your basic knowledge of math and reading, science and social studies, that type of thing, and that was it. Here I had to take a different type of test, which had more teaching application than it was just your basic knowledge. The test that I had to take had 3 different modules. Each module focused in on a specific aspect of teaching. So I decided to do all 3 modules all at once so I can get it over and done with, and I didn't want to have to think about it. So I went to a testing center here in Alabama. I did not have to go to Pennsylvania. Went to a testing center here in Alabama and went and just took the test. It took me 3.5 hours to complete the test, but I did get my scores back right then and there, and I knew that I had passed. So once I had that in, and I had all the other documentation in that I needed to get for Pennsylvania, I had to sit and wait for it to be processed. I received an email a little while afterwards. I think it was around January or February when I received the email saying that I had been approved and that my license was good to go, that I could start teaching in Pennsylvania. So I had to start applying for jobs. I sat down with my husband and his family and kind of looked at what were some of the different areas and districts that I could apply for. And I started mapping those out and really looking at which ones I wanted to apply for. Now you have to check to make sure with each state, each district, county, whatever it is that you're going to be looking for a job in, that you see all the requirements that they need. I know for Alabama, we had just this one site where we uploaded all of our documentation, and then that's where the principals would pull from. For Pennsylvania, you have to have a written out form, and that's like your general Pennsylvania application. But then each district had their own way of you to apply for them. So I had to go on to each district that I wanted to work for and apply for that district. Now, a lot of them didn't have jobs at the time, and this started around February, early March, late February, early March is when I started to apply for different districts. And I pretty much kept a list in my planner, just marking off the different districts that I had already applied for, the ones that I did not apply for yet. So spring break rolls around for me, and we were not going to go anywhere. My husband and I, we were going to end up staying at home, just having a relaxing spring break, not doing anything. And last minute, we decided, you know what? I need to go because they're not on spring break. Their schools are open, and I need to go and show them my face. I need to let them see who I am. So we left, and I went to Pennsylvania. We went for probably about 3 days. It was a very short trip. It wasn't very long. And I had to get together my resume. So I got together a cover letter, a resume. I also put a small picture, which I went and printed out. The Walgreens pictures, you can put 4 wallet size on one 4x6 picture. I took those pictures, cut those out, and I clipped them to my cover letter. And I had my cover letter, my picture, and my resume with my letters of recommendations from my principal, my vice principal, my reading coach. So all of those were placed inside of a portfolio. And I just used one of those clear cover black backing portfolios. Nothing special, just very clean, and I like to keep it neat, but I wanted it to be something where it really popped out. So I got together all of the different schools that I wanted to hit, which were the schools that I for sure wanted to make sure that I went to and try to hand these principals my resume. So I made tons of copies, wrote on each of my cover letters. I also made sure that I made a point to put down the principal's name and their address as well, so that I can make it personable to that principal. And we kind of sat down and we just made a game plan of where it was that we were going to hit. So the day of, I got my suit on. I had, well, it was not really a suit. I had just black pants, work pants that I always use. I had a black suit jacket with just a nice clean shirt underneath it. Nothing too fancy, but still I looked professional. I wanted them to see that I wanted them to see that I was a professional person and that I pretty much meant business, that I was for real and I wanted to get this job. So I went suit and all to go to these schools and to drop off my resume to these principals. The first school that we went to was very nerve-wracking. I was very fortunate when I had gotten this job that I'm at currently, and I was my internship school. It was a school that I had already been in for a semester, and they hired me, and I was really, really lucky at that because I didn't really have to experience the having to go and hunt for a job like some others do. And I did at one point go around and look and drop off resumes, but it was nothing like Pennsylvania. It was a very different atmosphere. In Pennsylvania, it was interesting because for them, the first school that I went to, I couldn't get in, and I couldn't figure out how to get in. I was nervous, and I kind of went back into the car, and I said, I don't know how to get in. The doors are all locked. I don't understand. So we decided to drive to the very furthest school that was on my list. And when we did that, the kids were actually walking into the school at that moment. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go out and I'm just going to try to give them my resume. So I walked into the school and there was a really nice gentleman there, and he goes, you have to hit the buzzard. So I hit the buzzard. They asked me what I wanted there, and I told them that I was dropping off a resume for so and so principal. I wanted to make sure that I made it personable to that school. And she let me in, and I went and dropped it off, and they were very kind to me and told me some helpful tips and stuff for getting around to the other schools. So at that point, I kind of got up my courage, and I wasn't so scared anymore. The first one is always the scariest, I think. I went pretty much all day long just passing out my resumes to all these schools. And I'm not going to lie to you, there were some schools who wouldn't let me in their building, and they said that they couldn't accept it. And that's okay. That's their policy. That's the way they do things. But you have to try. There are going to be people who say no. There are going to be people who turn you away, and that's okay. But you still have to try. You have to show them that you want this job and that you're determined to get this job, and keep going. So at the end of the day, what I decided to do is we went back home, and I had checked off some of the schools that I had gone to, and I sat down and told myself, you know what, I'm going to send an email back out to all these principals, letting them know that I dropped off my resume, because none of them saw me. None of the principals actually came out and saw me. Whenever I walked into the school, it was the secretary just saying, yep, I'll make sure that I put it in their box. Thank you so much for stopping by. Others gave me a little bit more information as to whether or not they were going to have job openings and etc. But I never got to see a principal or a vice principal. So I decided to sit down and say, you know what, I'm going to email those principals so that they know and expect that resume in their box whenever they see it. So I sat down and came up with a little blurb, pretty much just saying who I was, thanking them for, allowing me, that I went into their school. I try to make it personable to each school, just remembering some of the things that I saw. I really loved this and this about your school. I'm an excited teacher moving to Pennsylvania. I would love to be a part of your team. And then attached my resume, my cover letter, and all the letters of recommendation that I had initially left with them at the school. So they had both. They had a digital copy and they had a paper copy. So I sat down, sent out all these emails. And I remember thinking, okay, there are no job openings at all. And there weren't. There were not any elementary job openings. And something else to kind of think too was, in Alabama, my degree certifies me for K through 6. In Pennsylvania, my degree transferred to a pre-K through 4th grade. So I'm only allowed to teach pre-K through 4th in Pennsylvania. So I was looking for elementary. And so I remember my mother-in-law telling me that there was a job opening at one school and that I needed to attempt and apply for this job. And it's an upper elementary job. So it was a school that had 4th through 6th grade. And I kept thinking, I don't even know if it's for 4th grade. I only can teach 4th grade. It's not even worth me applying. So she convinced me, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to apply it. What's the worst that could happen? Like everyone else, they'll just either 1, ignore my emails, or 2, I'll get a response. So that evening, I sat down, I applied for that job. I sent that principal to that school an email along with my cover letter, my letters of rec, everything about me inside of that email. And probably about 45 minutes later, I got an email back from that principal saying that he wanted to have an interview with me for the next day. So the days that I started going out were on Thursday. Like I said, I was only there for a short amount of time. So we arrived Wednesday. We were going to be Thursday and Friday and then leave Saturday. So he wanted to have an interview Friday morning, and I was so excited to the point where I ran out of the house yelling and screaming because I was so excited that I actually had an interview. Somebody wanted to see me. And I kept telling my husband, all I need is for somebody to meet me. I just want them to meet me, to see who I am, to see how passionate I am about my job, and let them understand that I just wanted to. So I sent back an email accepting his interview time. So my interview time was for 9 a.m. that Friday morning, and told him that I would meet him then. So I went for my interview, And of course, I didn't get any sleep. I sat and called pretty much everybody that I knew, told them the news, and they kind of helped me walk through some of the different things that they might ask. And it helped. But I was really excited. I wasn't so much like nervous. I was just excited. I was so excited that I was getting a chance to actually meet a principal. So I didn't get a lot of sleep that night. And I made a point to have his resume, his cover letter, everything was printed out so that I could give it to him when I showed up for the interview. So again, I wore my just classic, the black jacket, the black pants with just a nice clean white, it was just a white blouse that I wore that day. And I showed up probably 15 to 20 minutes early. I sat in the parking lot for I think about 5 minutes. And all the students were walking in at that time. And so I just walked in and I sat and I waited for a little while. And that's okay. You want them to know that you're there and you're going to be on time and you're prompt. So always make sure that you go early. And I'll get to more of that in a minute. So I sat and I waited, and he comes in and he shakes my hand, and we walk back, and he just sat back and started asking questions. He told me about his school and about what they were doing in school, and asked about me for a little bit, and we just pretty much had a conversation of what were my teaching ideas, what did I believe, what did I do in my classroom. And I wasn't so much nervous because I am very passionate about what I'm doing, and I have a very strong belief about what I'm doing, and I think that really makes this interview very different from the interview that I had at the job that I have now. When I interviewed for the kindergarten position that I have now, I was fresh out of college. You know, at that point, you have a good understanding, but you don't really know who you are as a teacher yet until you've been teaching. I changed so much within these 4 years from where I started. And at this point, I really have studied my job and I have tried to learn it to the best of my abilities. So when I sat down for this interview, it was more just me talking with some other, teachers or colleagues, or, just talking about teaching and what it is that I'm doing in my classroom. And, they're asking me questions about what I believe in my room. And it was very laid back and I wasn't very nervous, but it lasted an hour and a half, just talking. And after that, he kind of told me what were the next steps, what would be happening, and that was the end of it. I shook hands with him, and I shook hands with the other fourth grade teacher that was in that room with us, and I left. That evening, I sent an email to both the fourth grade teacher that sat in on the interview and to that principal, thanking them for their time and telling them how wonderful I thought that their school was, and I would really like the opportunity to be a part of their team. And that was it. I didn't hear back for a little while, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I was a crazy wreck during this time. I probably gained about 15 pounds. I lost a lot of hair. It was awful. It is the worst to sit and just wait. I didn't hear anything back. I did hear back from the teacher, and she, said, yes, it was so great meeting you. It was wonderful. Good, best of luck to you. Didn't give me any kind of hint as to whether or not they were going to give me the job. So I just waited, and I waited, and I waited. And so I sent another email. I think it was about a week. It was a week after, so it was the next Friday. Sent another email to the principal, and I know that's probably like, oh my gosh, you're sending a lot of emails. But I want them to know that I really want this job. So I sent another email, again, thanking him for his time and that I've really had an opportunity to look at his website and blah, 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 and just threw some facts about his school out there. And I got a response Sunday night. And Sunday night it was, hey, Bridget, we're excited. Thank you again. Thanks for emailing me. Something to that extent. I would like to offer out the opportunity for you to come and do a demonstration lesson. Now, I already knew that this part was coming, but y'all, demonstration lesson, never had to do any of this ever in Alabama. I was actually talking to my cousin in Texas, and he and I were talking, this was when I was in Pennsylvania, and he and I were talking about hit one of his friends who had to do a demonstration lesson. And I said, oh my goodness, I would freak out if I had to do that. I'm so glad I don't have to do that. Well, y'all, I must have jinxed myself because I had to do that. So he offered me the opportunity to do a demonstration lesson. And of course I said, yes, absolutely. Let me know when you need me there. And so I flew out. And if you follow me on Snapchat, you would have seen me leaving to go on an airplane. And I don't think I vlogged that week at all. So I went to Pennsylvania for a demonstration lesson, and he gave me the standard I was going to teach. He gave me 30 minutes and told me that I was going to teach it to these group of fourth graders. So I had literally everything prepared, y'all. If you're going to do a demonstration lesson, don't rely on anything that they have to give you. You take everything that you need. I had pencils, I had magnets. I knew that there would be a whiteboard. I had magnets, I had my anchor charts pre-made. I had all the copies done for the students. I had erasers for them, highlighters for them, sticky notes for them, everything that I needed for my lesson. That is what I sent to them or took with me. So I had a huge suitcase with like a little piece of my clothes, and then the rest of it was all the school stuff for the lessons that I was going to be teaching. And I was actually, everybody tells me, were you nervous? Were you nervous? To be totally honest, I was more nervous about having to fly by myself because I had never flown by myself. I always either had my parents or my husband with me. I was more nervous about having to drive to the airport and figure out how to get on the plane on time by myself than what I was about this lesson. Once I got to Pennsylvania, I was fine. I was not nervous because I knew deep down that what it was that I was doing, I felt confident about it, and I was excited to teach fourth graders. So I wasn't really nervous about that. And so that morning I got up, and it was around the afternoon. I think I taught the lesson at 1 o'clock, I want to say. So I had all morning long to just kind of relax and wind down. I was watching YouTube videos. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was eating beef jerky. It was amazing. So I sat back, just relaxed for a little while, took my whole suitcase with me, and I did my demonstration lesson. The lesson that I did had to be on main idea and key details, and then completing it with a summary, and it was all on informational text. So it was around Earth Day. Earth Day was actually that Friday, and I went in on Thursday to teach the lesson. So I found some really cool articles off of the internet about Earth Day and just some really great lessons. So I put up a huge anchor chart that had Earth Day in it, and that was going to be kind of my focus lesson. But I really wanted to zero in on key details because I feel like key details are extremely difficult for kids. They can't really decide what is most important and what isn't the most important. So I wanted something to kind of get their attention in the very beginning of the lesson. I took my suitcase with a bunch of stuff inside of it, and it all had my materials in the beginning too, but I had taken all of those out. And I sat down and I had my suitcase and I said, hey guys, I am a teacher in Alabama, and your principal invited me to come and teach you about main idea and key details. And I'm so excited about it that I flew all the way over here. So we talked about what were some of the things that were in my suitcase, and I showed them all the cool stuff that I had in my suitcase. Well, not everything. I didn't show them everything. I put in my flight ticket, my driver's license, my phone, my keys, some clothes. I had some hot Cheetos, some Diet Coke, just things like that I love inside of the suitcase. And I said, I'm going to show you guys all this cool stuff, and I want you to figure out what is really, really important. What did I absolutely have to have in to come to Pennsylvania, and what were some things that were, they were good to have. It's awesome, but it's not the most important thing. So we went through and differentiated between what was going to be a key detail and what wasn't a key detail. Afterwards, I told them that we were going to look at the reading. So we did a reading, went through the whole process, and throughout this entire time, I had 4 people in the room watching me. I had the principal, I had 2 reading specialists, I believe they were reading specialists. And then I had a superintendent in the room watching me teach. And to be completely honest, I wasn't nervous. I didn't even look at them. I completely put all my attention onto the kids that were in front of me because that's what I was there for. I was there to teach those kids, to get them interested in that lesson, get them engaged in the lesson, and hopefully do a really good job with it. So I didn't even look up at them at one point. And I remember not even being able to finish the lesson. And they got up at one point and just said, hey, I know you don't have enough time to finish it. Just wrap it up. We're going to go out and we're going to talk. And I did want to say, too, like, before I even started the lesson, I gave each of them a lesson plan. So they had the complete outline of the lesson plan all the way to the very end. I knew I wasn't going to get to the end of it, but I wanted them to see how I could plan out a lesson from the beginning to the very end. I gave them pictures of all the anchor charts, so all the anchor charts that I'd made. I had taken pictures of them and I had attached those to the back. I gave them all the reading sheets that the students would have and the final assessment sheet that the students would have too. So they had in their hands everything that I was going to be doing, and they could follow along through my lesson. So they had that before they even walked into my room, because I met with the principal about 15 minutes before, and I handed him all the plans, so they had a really good idea of what they were going to see when they came into the room. So they went to go and talk, and I got to hang out with the fourth graders for a little bit longer, and they were really, really cool, and I absolutely loved it. And one of them showed me to the office where they wanted me to wait. So I sat down and I waited for a little bit, and they came and got me, and we talked about the lesson and how great it went. And then after that, it was pretty much a done deal. I don't know. Like, I knew I had the job, but I didn't know that I had the job. Sometimes they can't really tell you they're going to give you anything, and that's just because of different policies. So a little bit later on, they took me to HR, sat down with HR, and they kind of told me what were some of the things that I needed to do. I went and I did them right away. I did not wait. I had to go get fingerprints done, went and got that done immediately. Like, I left the school, went and got my fingerprints done. I had to do a few more forms online, went home immediately after getting my fingerprints done and did those forms online. I had everything done, and I emailed the HR lady like the superintendent wanted me to do. So I emailed her that evening telling her I had everything done, and then I also gave her screenshots from my completed forms saying that I had those finished so that she could see that I did have that completed and uploaded. So I had everything done, emailed everything, checked off my list. So yes, I've been in communication with HR over the past few weeks, and then finally on Monday, May 16th, it was official, board approved, that I would be teaching ELA for 4th grade. So what that means is I am team teaching next year. I am only going to be doing ELA, that's reading and writing. So I will have 2 sets of kids. I will have my morning group and then an afternoon group where I strictly just teach reading and writing all day long. And I will be working with another teacher on getting on with our kids. So she'll have a group and I'll have a group, and we'll switch during the day. I'm very excited about it. I'm so glad that I'm able to kind of share this with you guys finally. My room has completely started to get cleaned out. So I'm vlogging now, and so for some of you who are saying that you want to see my room, you're going to see my room on Monday, and it's going to be completely wiped out. So I'm letting you know that now. But now that the cat's out of the bag, and I can tell you that I am going to be teaching 4th grade because it is officially official, and I'm going to take you guys along with me. So you're going to see what it's like to completely move from the south to the north. I'm excited about it. I'm excited for my family. It's going to be a great little adventure. I am going to miss kindergarten very much. I do love the purity, I guess is the word that I'm thinking of, that when they're coming in, they're just so sweet, so innocent, so timid. But I am excited to have students who are a little more independent, who are higher level thinking, that they can just do more project wise. I've always wanted to do that with kindergarten, but it's just so hard because developmentally they're not ready for that yet. So I'm excited to see what are some of the things that I can be doing the next year. And yeah, so I feel so much better telling you guys my little secrets. And leave me some comments down below if you have any questions about the entire process. The process was really, really long. Again, this went from like the last week of March all the way until now. So it's taken almost 2 months for me to be able to find out whether or not I had a job. But it's been great. It's been a great journey so far, and I am really excited about it. So leave a comment down below if you have any questions about any of the process that I had to go through with getting the job, with getting my license in Pennsylvania. And yes, and I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and I will be coming back with a new video very, very soon. Bye! Hey guys, today I am doing a 10 tips to help get your classroom end of the year ready. So for me, by the time this video is going up,